In 12 years of coaching powerlifting, I have never had an athlete miss weight at a meet, not a single time. And it's not because I'm lucky. I've spent the 12 years developing and refining a system that works and then teaching athletes how to use it properly. Weight cutting is one of these topics that either gets completely ignored or massively overcomplicated. Lifters either don't cut at all, leave a little bit of a competitive advantage on the table, or they try to copy what other athletes, especially combat sport athletes, and end up weaker, miserable, or often both. In this video, I'm going to walk you through one of the approaches that I use for weight cuts with my athletes, what's safe, what works, what to do after you weigh in. If you want more content like this, I do put out a weekly newsletter covering training, nutrition, competition strategy. There's a link to that in the description. Before I get into the details, I want to clear something up. And I think a lot of the confusion about weight cutting comes from people using the same word to mean two different things. When people say cut, they usually mean one of two things. The first one is a true diet, losing actual body mass over weeks or months by being in a calorie deficit. Fat goes down, scale goes down, and that change is permanent-ish. The second is a rapid weight cut, which is what we're talking about here today. A rapid weight cut does not change your muscle mass, your bone mass, your fat mass. What it does change is the amount of stuff that is in your body that is not really part of you. We manipulate the number on the scale without changing the stuff that you're actually made out of. For the rest of this video, when I say cut, I mean the second one of those, a rapid weight cut. How much weight can you cut safely? The sweet spot for most lifters is 2 or 3% of their body weight. At that level, if done correctly, you can make weight without a meaningful impact on your performance. The recovery from it is reasonably manageable, the process isn't miserable, and you can compete feeling more or less like a human. When you get to about 5%, it starts getting a little bit risky. Large rapid weight cuts compromise strength, cognitive function, reaction time, and the recovery window between your weigh-in and your competition often isn't enough to undo that damage. You've probably seen combat sport fighters, especially like MMA fighters, doing cuts of 10% or more. And I want to be clear that that is an entirely different thing. They're often done under medical supervision with recovery protocols that are impractical or banned. And the weigh-in window is much longer than it is in powerlifting, often 24 hours, whereas most powerlifters have only 2 hours. So that's not a model that we can replicate in powerlifting, and frankly, I don't think we should try. You should stick to 2 or 3% at least for your first few cuts. And if that goes well, you can look at progressing it from there. The method that I like to use is called a gut cut, and it is the easiest and the safest method for most lifters. Here's the idea. At any given time, your body contains a meaningful amount of varying levels of digested food, from the food that you have just swallowed right through to waste that you haven't passed yet. That material has physical weight, but it isn't part of you. A gut cut systematically reduces the total mass of that in the days leading up to a weigh-in. You're not dehydrating yourself, you're not starving yourself, you're just reducing the physical food mass that is moving through your system so that when you hop on the scale, there is less of that. Done correctly, this is relatively low risk, relatively comfortable, and you don't have to do anything weird or exotic. No sweatsuits, no saunas, no diuretics, just a few changes to the things that you eat in the days leading up to your weigh-in. Here is how you do it. Starting from about 3 days out, I reduce carbohydrate intake by about 60%. Carbohydrates hold water, about 3 grams per gram of carbohydrate, so reducing carbs reduces your fluid mass in your body. Carbs also tend to be physically bulky. Think of rice, bread, fruit, and so by switching that for something denser, the amount of physical food goes down. At the same time, we bring down fiber, either to under 10 grams a day or to about half, depending on how high your fiber is beforehand. Fiber slows digestion and adds bulk to your gut content. So by reducing your fiber intake, it passes through you faster and it is less bulky. Critically, your sodium, your protein, and your total calories are going to remain basically the same here. We're not restricting protein, and to keep your calories the same, we're going to increase fat by the number of calories that we decreased your carbs by. So you may feel hungry, but you are not starving yourself. You are eating the same amount of energy, it's just coming from different sources. As you get close to weigh-in, you can progressively replace solid foods with liquid foods. Liquids tend to move through your system very quickly, so by the final day, I am typically having 1 solid meal in the morning, and then mostly drinking the rest of my food. The last food and fluids go in 14 to 16 hours before your weigh-in, and then after that you fast. If you have a late weigh-in, in the afternoon or the evening, you might like to make weight earlier in the day and then let yourself eat and drink a little bit throughout the rest of the day, basically for comfort. Following this protocol consistently, most lifters lose sort of 2 or 3% of their body weight. So if you are an 83 kilo lifter, for example, you're going to be able to comfortably drop from about 85 kilos. Once you make weight, you are not done. The first priority is fluids, water and electrolytes. You need to get those back in before you think about food. Your body has been low on fluids for the last sort of 16 hours or so, and that is the most urgent need that you need to address. Once the fluids are coming back in, give yourself 20 minutes or so, and then start on the moderate glycemic index carbohydrates. I tend to target about 40 to 60 grams of carbs per hour, enough to start restoring glycogen and feeling more comfortable, but without overwhelming your digestive system. Something that I really want to emphasize here is not to force it. Powerlifting meets can be stressful, you may be anxious, and that impacts your ability to digest things. A lot of lifters feel nauseous or uncomfortable after weigh-in, and trying to force feed yourself is not going to help, and in fact, you're probably just going to make things worse. Eat and drink steadily. If something doesn't feel right, stop, back off, try and let yourself settle. The goal is to feel ready and comfortable when you hit the platform. You don't necessarily need to get all the way back up to your pre-cut weight. Stick to foods that you know meet day is not the day to try something new. If you've never eaten a particular food on a training day or before a training session, do not introduce it between your weigh-in and your first squat. Now, before I wrap this up, I want to make one particular recommendation. Do a practice cut 4 to 8 weeks out from your competition. Run through the full protocol. See how much weight you actually lose, see how the process feels for you specifically, and then train afterwards, see what it feels like. This is valuable for a few reasons. Firstly, individual responses vary. I say 2 to 3% is what you can typically expect to lose, but some people lose a lot more and some people lose a lot less. You probably need to know how much you're going to lose before you do it. Secondly, the rehydration and refueling process takes some practice. Figuring out what sits well in your stomach and what is going to make you feel good when you're lifting is information you want before your competition day, not during it. Doing a practice cut is reasonably cheap insurance. Do not skip it. To summarize, keep your cut to sort of 2 or 3%, especially the first few times. Use a gut cut protocol, prioritize liquids after weigh-ins, eat steadily, and practice the entire process at least once right through before competition day. Weight cutting is a skill, and like any other skill, it gets better and more predictable the more that you practice it. Now, if you found this useful, make sure to sign up for my newsletter below. Once a week, I will send out information about training, nutrition, and competition strategy in the same sort of level of detail. The link is down here. If you have more questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below.